I've just completed the book Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life, and I definitely found some key gems and some principles that I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do a video on this, and I wanted to go over some of the principles with you guys. And I've whittled it down to 5 key insights. So let's get straight into it. Aim at something. Pick the best target you can currently conceptualize. Stumble towards it. Notice your error and misconceptions along the way. Face them and correct them. Get your story straight. Past, present, future. They all matter. You need to map your path. You need to know where you are so you do not repeat the mistakes of the past. You need to know where you are, or you won't be able to draw a line from your starting point to your destination. Take a moment and imagine yourself in the future. Let's say 5 years ahead, so it's not that far out. You might hope for some changes, or you might hope for some material things. Bigger house, nicer car, you know, the ordinary things. That person may even feel like a stranger. I think this is a good exercise to do because many people struggle to think of their future self. They have that separate connection. That future self is so separate, it's so far out of their mind that they can't even imagine it right now. And because that identity has no connection to the present day, they are far less worried about the consequences of their decisions of today. And on the extreme end is why people spiral out of control, because they can see no future, they can't see tomorrow, and then they end up in this sort of cycle of self-sabotage. And the way I see it is like you almost need to think of this future self that you're going to be and have a relationship with that person. Try and talk to that person from time to time. Envisage yourself being that person, because the stronger connection you have with that future self, the higher becomes your willingness to do things to serve your future self and have that person's best interests at heart. It appears the meaning that most effectively sustains life is to be found in the adoption of responsibility. When people look back at what they have accomplished, they think, if they are fortunate, well, I did that. That was valuable. That was not easy, but that was worth it. It's a strange paradoxical fact that there is a reciprocal relationship between the worth of something and the difficulty of accomplishing it. And I think this is so true. There's so much satisfaction in getting something done, especially when you know it's been difficult. I think intrinsically we are difficulty finding creatures. We like things to be somewhat challenging. We might believe or think that we want an easy life or things to be easy, but there's no satisfaction in easy things. I think deep down inside we know overcoming challenges is where we find meaning. And that's why when someone takes a risk with a new business venture or something that is high risk, when that is achieved, they get huge accolades because they've taken on that risk, they've taken on the responsibility, and they're rewarded for that likewise. And when you take on responsibility, this breeds a certain type of confidence in a person, and you realise that you have the power to do whatever you want as long as you choose to act, and you accept that you might fail, you bear the consequences. And I would even go as far as to say is when you take on responsibility, you gain respect, which is a powerful concoction of attributes to have because it's impressive. Because you've gone as far as to do things that people are not willing to do, and this sets you apart. And there's another short paragraph that I wanted to include. Your life becomes meaningful in precise proportions to the depth of the responsibility you're willing to shoulder. If you make what you want clear and commit yourself to its pursuit, you may fail. But if you do not make what you want clear, then you will certainly fail. You cannot hit a target that you refuse to see. You cannot hit a target if you do not take aim. And I think this is a given. I mean, it's generally spoken about within the self-development niche. You know that in order for you to succeed, you need to fail. But what I wanted to focus on mainly about that sort of short paragraph is that many of us have this complexity about our ambition. We're scared to tell our dreams and our hopes. And we never really show our true nature. And in most cases, we never really face our ambitions. We would rather wait until the pain of not achieving gets too great. So from this, I would say don't be scared to lay your cards out on the table. Many of us have dreams and hopes, and we're literally scared to have that internal dialogue with ourselves. Face them, write them down, talk about it. Without clear, well-defined and non-contradictory goals, the sense of positive engagement that makes life worthwhile is very difficult to obtain. Clear goals limit and simplify the world, as well as reducing uncertainty, anxiety, and the self-devouring psychological forces unleashed by stress. The poorly integrated person is thus volatile and directionless, and this only is the beginning. And I really connected with this paragraph because I fully believe in being active as opposed to being reactive. And let's think about this hypothetical person that was just reactive to life as opposed to being active. Let's say they wanted a job. An active person would email companies they wanted to work for. They would formulate emails specifically for those companies, as opposed to a person who would just apply for companies that are just actively recruiting. And I've learned this with my freelance work. Actively going out, pursuing companies or people that you want to work for. You taking charge of a situation as opposed to a situation that you're having to deal with. And out of the work area, I'm really being specific about my health and fitness right now. And I'm making a point of being really clear on making sure that I have a routine with going to the gym, because I know where my activity goes, my mood follows. And I'm eating correctly, I'm usually more productive, and I'm able to accomplish way more. And there have been many times where I've been pursuing that skill, and at that moment sometimes everything just clicks because I've had a clear goal. The hardest part about having a clear goal is just staying on target. It's always hard that first week or month, but it gets easier. Get clear, pick that target and hit it hard. Hit it as hard as you can. It sounds scary, but once you get going, you can't stop. Momentum is one hell of a thing. It's something that you don't want to lose once you have it. It is very common to allow so-called minor irritations to continue for years without comment or resolution. Here is the problem. Collect 100 or 1,000 of those and your life is miserable and your marriage is doomed. Do not pretend to be happy with something if you are not. And if a reasonable solution might be, in principle, be negotiated, have the damn fight. Unpleasant as that might be in the moment, it is one less straw on the camel's back. And that is particularly true for those daily events that everyone is prone to regard as trivial, and it's worth getting what repeats right. Now this, I feel like, really does come down to communication. When you're in relationships, it's so easy to just expect your partner to exist and coexist with each other without actually resolving the issues. And at the time, it could be these minor things. These things that don't really even, they bother you, but they don't annoy you. And as he said, over a lifetime, over years, these small things, they build up and they become things and they become issues. They become these things that become arguments and these colossal mountains of frustration and anger that just explodes in moments where you feel like you can't take it anymore. It's so important to just tackle the problem head on. Editor Michael here. I just wanted to go over that last line he said. Life is what repeats, and it's worth getting what repeats right. And I think this is so pivotal, not just for relationships, but just for everything. I think some of us can do the same thing day in, day out, and we wonder why things are not changing or we're not making any progress in a particular area. And it's because we haven't really challenged our thought processes or the way that we have been historically been doing things. And it just hit home for me. Just, it's worth getting what repeats right. And I was just doing the edit and I was thinking, that just makes so much sense. Anyways, I just wanted to emphasize that point. Back to the video. It doesn't really have to be just for the relationship. I think it transcends itself into other areas of your life. It could be for your friendships. It could be for your work life also. If you've got an issue, speak about it, confront it, talk to your boss. Be transparent, be open. Because ultimately all these things could be resolved just by having that conversation and communication. So to recap on the lessons learned from Beyond Order, imagine who you could be and aim at that. Have that relationship with your future self and make sure you take those present day decisions for your future self in mind. Notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. Don't be scared of taking on responsibility. Responsibility breeds respect and ultimately reward for yourself. Do not hide unwanted things in the fog. Don't be scared of your ambition and your truth. Be open with what you want and transparent. Face your ambition. Work hard as possibly as you can on one thing and see what happens. There is value in pressure. Be clear on one goal. And lastly, plan and work diligently to work on the romance within your relationship. Invest and nurture those relationships, because it's going to be those relationships that you turn to in times of need. So there you have it, guys. Those are my 5 key takeaways from Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life. I would definitely recommend reading this book if you have a chance. If you like this video, please smash the like button, comment below if you have any suggestions or give me any feedback, and I'll see you guys in another one. Bye bye.